We're live, the Heel Heat with exclusive breaking news. Once in one, one chance in hell, Benny. Sorry, this is just crazy. We're about to talk about today. One chance in hell, Benny was here with me with Paulinho. Our third man is not available right now. He's on the road somewhere. I don't know where he's going. He's probably going to Connecticut or something.
Hey man, listen, Jay travels, his commute is like 65 hours a day. It makes no sense. But I don't know, man.
The top news today: Vince McMahon has retired from WWE, literally setting aside everything that was the ongoing investigation of sexual misconduct. He just decided to retire completely. He recently stepped down as CEO, and Stephanie came in as interim CEO. And let's not forget that Trips came back as well. And then it was just before the announcement that Vince McMahon retired. It was announced that Trips pretty much came back to his previous position, which was VP or EVP of talent relations, which doesn't sound too good for Johnny Ace either, because now these are the two guys that are involved in the sexual misconduct allegations that's been going on. Vince and Johnny Ace. Vince just retired, so Johnny Ace is going to face something coming up. I mean, he might be forced out pretty much. It might be a silent one, but he might be forced out.
I was pretty much on the train that he was gone weeks ago anyway, because the man does not have a very good reputation when it comes to dealing with talent to begin with. Um, and then when it comes out that people were or young women were passed off like toys. There were, words in the Wall Street Journal's reports and everything to him. It's like, all right, how much respect do you have for the people that are around you? And then on top of that, how much respect do you have for the position and the people that are working under you? So it's like, I don't know, like in that situation, like I said, Vince is kind of sort of like, since he was top dog, there's not really, aside from the retirement that he's doing right now, that could have been done. But when it comes to John Laurinaitis, it's just like, dude, do you really expect to keep your job after all of this?
I don't see how he does, to be
Nah.
honest. I really don't. It's tough. Like the fact that literally the story goes, Vince was with one girl, passed it off to him like it was freaking like a PlayStation or Xbox game. Hey, I'm done playing this. Your turn to play it. Like, who does that? And that's the thing is, after watching, did you see the interview for Ember Moon?
I was listening to part of it while I was at work. I couldn't actually finish it.
So I finally saw it, and then when she was talking about like how like after Trips left, everything changed.
Hmm.
When Trips was there, everything was fine. Well, pretty much like, as we thought, everything was gravy. What Trips did pretty much is like, hey, go put on a show, just don't get hurt. That's all I ask. Just don't get hurt. Do what you want, just don't get hurt. She said when they went to the main roster, it was different. Vince was always like, oh, uh, practice that. Did you do it? Can you not do it? If you can't do it, I don't want you doing it. If it wasn't safe to do it, no. Like he treated them like they were like little kids,
Hmm.
you know. Didn't give them much freedom at all, which messed them up. But the boys gave him all the freedom. Then when she went down to NXT, literally put him into a class, like they said, hey, y'all need to dress up and be more like Mandy Rose. And she was like, no, nothing against Mandy Rose, but Mandy Rose is Mandy Rose. She does what she does. I'm not Mandy Rose. I'm not going to dress like Mandy Rose. That ain't me. That's not my gimmick. It never's been me. She's like, I'm more for the kids. I do this and that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to wear, what did she say? Pantyhose, something like that. Like, walk around my booty show and all that stuff. Like, she's like, no, that ain't me. So that literally goes to show what Vince was trying to do with the women all along. And it made no sense because you literally progress away from the diva age, the bra and panties matches, to give these women matches that, granted, they're still not long enough, for most of them, but then you want to reverse it back to what it was for what? You like I remember we used to argue that they literally had enough talent with the women. They could have had their own show.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had their own show. They could have had their own pay-per-view matches, like own pay-per-views. They could have had all that with enough talent that they had going on. But no, they didn't know how to appreciate the women they had. They didn't know how to write storylines for them. Nothing. So all of this really doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact now, the fact is that they signed the NDAs. I don't think the issue is a lot of like what he did. Is who he did it with and how much it cost.
I mean, I think there's a bit of both. I mean, like the biggest one, obviously, um, and I'm gonna put it out there. Like Paul and I were speaking beforehand. Stephanie's actually in the ring right now, and I'm pretty sure she's addressing all of this. Um, but the issue, I think the biggest issue out of all of them is the wrestler, more so than anybody else that was involved with anything. Not trying to diminish, trauma involvement, whatever anybody else but went through. It's just a matter of when it comes to the scandal per se, the biggest one would probably have been the actual wrestler because of the fact that it was a situation where his sexual advances were denied, and because of them, or because of that, this wrestler was demoted, which at that point is probably meaning sent to ECW or OVW or something like that, and then fired ultimately. So you're using your position of power over someone else for sexual benefit for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, and then of course, the $7.5 million payoff that went to her, like, which was negotiated down the line, damages, whatever you want to call it, but it's just like, how do you quantify that?
There's a lot, man. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we knew how he looked at women because of how like stuff was written for them, and like we always said, he had a specific type of wrestler he only wanted to push.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't surprised by a lot of the stuff. We were just, I guess we could say, we were surprised how long it took to come out. And I remember putting in the chat, like, excuse me, it's kind of strange all this is coming out at this point in time. And it's weird how it all got leaked and more got leaked. And I'm guessing because of the fact the first one didn't do as much damage as they thought. So they leaked the rest of the information. And the one that did the most damage, like you said, was the female wrestler. Like the first one did damage because it's like, bro, it's like I said, you play with one and then you hand it off like it's a freaking like Xbox game or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Done playing with it, here you go. But the second one was just with the wrestler was just one that went over the top. Because of the fact that this is an employee of yours. This is somebody you're supposed to, take care of, respect, and do all this stuff. And then you take advantage of her. And then you let her go, after you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you pay her off. Granted, they sign all NDAs, but still, that's just a cover your ass type thing. That's the CYA. And then I mentioned earlier, like in the chat, there was a board member that stepped away before this second story came out. I can't remember his name, but he stepped away. Somebody broke, I think it was Wrestle Talk, or somebody broke it out. And there was like, it's kind of interesting. He stepped away on Thursday and the news broke out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought about it being a big deal the day of when he stepped down. But afterwards, it was like, oh, wow, like, that's interesting. Did he know that it was going to break out? So,
well, from what I understand, the board had already been investigating this since going back towards like right around WrestleMania time. So everybody that was on the board knew about this. So it ends up being like, all right, how many other people? Stephanie's on the board. Triple H, I believe he was on the board. I'm pretty sure he was. Nick Khan knew about it. All of these people, like every single person, knew about this mess. And of course, people start, making assumptions as though, all right, well, Stephanie stepped away because of this or whatever. That's why she, was going to quote unquote take care of family and all kinds of other stuff. But like I said, and I'm not trying to speculate when it comes to stuff like that because, you don't want to put anything negative out there and have yourself looking like a complete ass clown or whatever. Make it like kind of sort of making up shit. But, this whole situation is just fucking wild, Joe. There's no other way to look at it. This is just wild. And the crazy part about it is, had it not been for this, like I said, I got the sound turned off on the TV, so you don't end up having us get claimed for anything like that when it comes to audio. But I didn't hear everything or anything that Stephanie said, except for when she mouthed "I love you, Dad" at the end of her speech, and then everybody in the crowd or whatever is chanting "Thank you, Vince" and everything like that. So I'm thinking to myself, this right here is how this is how he's being received with allegations of massive misconduct. If he had just stepped away without all of this, how beloved would he have actually been? Or is it just the fact that people are just this unbothered by the stuff that these women had to go through?
I think what they're trying to do, this is just my opinion, is they're trying to not make it a thing. So they're trying to continue on as if nothing happened.
I'm
Regardless
not,
of
I'm not
that.
even I'm not even talking about like the actual company themselves. I'm talking about the fans that are in attendance right now. Like,
Bro, the fans, that's the thing that killed me. When he stepped down as interim CEO and then he went down with it on Raw,
no, it was on SmackDown.
SmackDown. And he was like, and he went there and they were like, he announced it like, and all he did was just say that the now, then, now, and forever together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And people applauded him. I'm like, bro, this guy is literally going to sexual allegations. Yes, to sexual allegations, but I'm not saying he's guilty because that's still being investigated. But you might want to hold the applause for the moment. And I get it. We go with the whole innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But remember what happened with Chris Benoit.
Mm-hmm.
How was he treated? He was
Like a
glorified
hero up until you
until
know
everything, the details came out. He was vilified. He couldn't even appear on anything. His son is like
everything's erased.
blacklisted.
Mm-hmm.
His son, no matter how good he is or how good he becomes, cannot wrestle for WWE because of the fact he looks almost exactly identical like his father. He's a freaking splitting image of his dad.
No, in that case, it's not even so much just that as it is. It's like, all right, well, he's also trying to wrestle under the name Chris Benoit Jr. So,
That doesn't help
but
either.
nah, just to get back to to Vince himself, it's just like this right here is quite possibly, I'm not even going to say quite possibly. This is probably the biggest story in the history of wrestling right now. The fact that he is gone, and if he like is legitimately out the door, like he's like, all right, I'm gonna completely step back. I'm gonna drop creative. I've already retired from all of the other stuff. Like I said, I spoke to you before. Everything that went through my mind, that me being, cynical Benny, was automatically thinking like, you know what, this is a storyline. Confirm that it's not a storyline by WWE. Now, how true that is, I don't know, but I take them for their word. No one, like in that statement that WWE made, as well as the statement that he made on his Twitter, where in it did it say anything about him stepping down from creative. It didn't. It said him stepping down from his executive positions, and also said something about him keeping his voting power and everything like that. So in that case, it's just like, all right, how much is he actually stepping away? But again, watching Fightful earlier, Sean Ross Sapp said that every indication that he's getting is that Vince is absolutely, aside from just, his voting rights and everything, he's gone. So you know that you have the guy who I'm not going to say is responsible for what wrestling is right now, because you're talking about way, way too many factors or whatever
Oh yeah,
that went into this to say that it was just him. But I would say that he is the biggest factor for what wrestling became in the 90s. And then after that, you know, kind of dwindled down or whatever, ever since then. But, considering how big it became, you can't, there's no way that you can tell any story about wrestling without having Vince McMahon's name in it.
you can't. You can't. Everything comes down to him. Like certain people older than us that were around for the territories,
Mm-hmm.
they don't like Vince because he killed the territories.
Yep.
He killed it. But he literally created a conglomerate of stars and made things better. And he ushered in the rock and roll era. He mixed wrestling with entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, we had WrestleMania 1, we had Muhammad Ali, Cyndi Lauper. Who's that one guy?
Mr. T was in it.
Mr. T. No, the other guy, the piano guy.
Oh.
Liberace.
Mm.
I think it was Liberace. I don't know. You got him. It was a plethora of like well-known people from that time at WrestleMania 1. And at every WrestleMania, literally there is like, who's going to be here? Who's going to be there? What big name person at the moment is going to be at Mania? Because at the moment of when it happens, there's a big name that's going to show up. I'm not saying it's a big name all the time, but whoever has their big 5 minutes of fame or whoever's big at the moment will literally be there. That's what WrestleMania is known for, and it's because of him. Like, yeah, he did all this stuff, whatever, but you have to give Vince credit. This man did so much in the 80s and the 90s. There was that dull period, 2000s, after the aggressive era?
Well, right after the Attitude Era, and because of WCW folding, you had this period where no competition bred all of this complacency.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they did get their competition in TNA, TNA tried to bite off way more than they could chew. And they tried to go head to head with them on Monday night with Impact, and that just did not work.
No.
It wasn't. So, you have you have a history of complacency, lack of competition and everything, breeding more complacency. So, like I said, that's part of what made it fall off. On top of the fact that it ended up, wrestling isn't cool anymore for people to like and all kinds of other stuff. But like I said, he's part of what made the industry what it is, and I'm talking about the major part of what made the industry what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even like you could go so far if you wanted to just like over exaggerate exactly what his impact on everything is, you could legitimately say that the way he operated is responsible for the creation of AEW. Because so many people were creatively frustrated within the WWE, um, trying to get in the WWE, not being used when they were in there, and all kinds of other stuff. So they're just like, you know what? Let's go do X, Y, and Z. And it's like just for argument's sake, what's the biggest name or the first name you think of when you think of AEW? It's probably Cody Rhodes. If Stardust had never happened, had they listened to Cody, does AEW become a thing? Or are we looking at like an expanded version of Ring of Honor.
I'm thinking hypothetically, if they did what Cody wanted and it went to his direction, I don't think he leaves.
I don't think he does either.
And if he doesn't leave,
Then that
honestly, I
the
don't think
elite
that even
isn't
happens. I don't think that
the
even happens.
elite isn't a thing. Like
I don't think none of that happens because of the fact, remember, because of the fact he left WWE, he went independent. Then at one point he went to Japan when he joined the elite, and that's when the conversation started.
Mhm.
Because I don't think those guys had any idea or fathom of creating their own.
Mhm.
You know, Cody was an important part in creating AEW, just like everybody else. Not trying to say he's the most important. He's important as it is, but the fact that I think we could probably agree, he was the one that got that conversation started and the wheels running on that.
Mhm.
So honestly, I don't think AEW happens without Cody Rhodes leaving WWE.
So like I said, it really depends on exactly how much you really want to stretch the, I don't want to say credit or blame, but how much you actually want to put it out there that Vince McMahon is responsible, or how much you want to give him as far as the responsibility for the creation of this. You, like I say, you could say that he's responsible for that. You could say he's responsible for, little stuff with Ring of Honor popping up and all kinds of other stuff. Because, like I said, the idea that he wants this certain type in each, gender role. All right. I want this big, muscular, sweaty dude to be, my top guy and all kinds of other stuff. He goes into character creation, and nothing against Roman because Roman is the man, but he goes into character creation on 2K and he builds Roman Reigns or whatever. That's the guy he's looking for. If he goes into character creation and tries to make a woman, he's building Charlotte Flair. Those are the two that he's actually looking at. So outside of that, you end up with a lot of different frustrations. So at that point, it's just like, all right, I'm not that guy. I'm not that girl. How are we handling this? How am I going to be creatively satisfied? I got to go somewhere else. I got to band together with a bunch of other people that are trying to start up something. So, like I said, whether or not it sounds like, oh, well, we're sitting up here ragging on them or we're giving them too much credit, or whatever it is, it's just read what happened. Take a look at the history of how these things have fallen into place and, going on. You'll see it. He had his hands, like, maybe not directly, but definitely indirectly in everything.
Yeah, it was one of those where I think we said before he's stuck in an era. He's stuck in the 80s, 90s, mostly 80s. He's stuck, and he has not evolved and moved on. Like a lot of the storylines are repetitive. You can literally go back 10 years, 20 years, and you'll see the same storyline or similar storylines that he's trying to repeat. Not all of them, we're just saying some of them. A lot of wrestlers are recycled. They even said that I forgot where they said it. They'll recycle looks. Right now, there's like, if you look and think about it, there's certain wrestlers right now they're being recycled as if replacing others. They're saying Braun Breaker is like the new Goldberg. Because of the way they built him and the way they're working with him. They went through a list. I forgot that. I can't remember all the names of it. I remember putting it in the chat. And now it comes out that Brock, pretty much as soon as he heard what was happening, he didn't like it. And let me show what he said really quick.
Well, let's put it like this. The report went out that Brock Lesnar was pissed off when he found out about Vince McMahon retiring. And his words were, if he's gone, I'm gone. This is what was reported to guys like Brian Alvarez and SRS and all these other, reputable people within the sports reporting industry, within the IWC. So this is what we're looking at. So I'm interested in see exactly how they handle this situation. Not to go off on a tangent about something that doesn't have anything to do with Vince or Brock or whatever. But when Sasha and Naomi, I can't even speak right now. I'm tired. When they left, what did you hear? Oh, they were unprofessional. They had Corey Graves out there, Corey Graves and Michael Cole putting themselves out there as the face of the WWE to take all of the brunt of the anger and everything from the crowd, calling them unprofessional and all of this other stuff on live TV. Are we going to do the same thing to Brock Lesnar? Absolutely not. But I'm
No.
just putting the question out there. Are we going to do it? Because this is the exact same thing.
Yep. And here's the other thing too. He's supposed to be the main event with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam.
There have been unconfirmed reports that people are trying to look into right now that WWE is scrambling at the moment to try and get Goldberg in there to replace him. But who knows at this point?
I don't know. It's crazy. This is something we've been waiting for to happen. We just didn't want to happen like this. Like we always said, just step down because of because you realize you're done. We didn't want him to pass away. We didn't expect a scandal to happen.
Nah.
And here's the other
thing. I wouldn't wish anything like that on anybody.
No. We wanted him to go away like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Gracefully.
Yes, thank you. Gracefully step away so that he can have his flowers. You know what I'm saying? Which is what we want to give him, but it's hard to give him flowers right now because he's going through these allegations of sexual misconduct.
Allegation like that. Let's make sure that there's no misunderstanding. We're not out there putting out there like, oh well, he's going through a trial or whatever. No, what's happening right now? Now, what I mean by that is a trial tribulation type thing. Like he's going through some rough spot in his life. This is stuff that he brought on to himself. All right. Nobody's going out there trying to excuse anybody's behavior or anything like that. It's just a matter of we're trying to look at everything from all directions in this case. Because, without Vince, what is, like I said, without him, what is the wrestling industry? What was it? What was it going to be if WrestleMania never became a thing? If he never had that vision, does the wrestling industry pop off the way that it did?
Monday Night Wars, bro.
Yes.
Monday Night Wars. Here's another one. He literally changed the pay-per-view landscape. Because before wrestling, before WWE, I didn't know about pay-per-views. It wasn't much about pay-per-views. But everybody started getting into the pay-per-views after that. I might be wrong, but that was the first I ever heard of pay-per-views because of wrestling.
In my case, it was boxing, but I agree with you.
And then you had the Monday Night Wars. What else did you have? You had XFL, and XFL, when XFL went defunct, NFL literally took some of the technology they created. Like, if you watch your football games on Sunday, you see that camera that comes like straight down the middle of the field.
I don't know why. I can't remember what that thing is called, but yeah.
Yeah, that's Vince McMahon and XFL. NFL bought that technology from them after it went defunct the first time. A lot of players from the XFL had careers that went into NFL. He hate me. Like, bro.
Yeah, that's the most famous person to ever play in the XFL. Him and Tommy Maddox.
Tommy Maddox's career was resurrected because of XFL.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's we're not saying that he's a saint. We're not saying, what he did. He did what he did. Okay? It is what it is. If it's true, he did what he did. We're not saying he was right. We're not saying he was wrong. It was wrong what he did. But also, let's not shit on the man because, you can't. This man there's a lot that he did. You know what I'm saying? It's just, It is what it is.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I have my thoughts and feelings on him as in creative, him
Yeah.
being as stubborn as he is, and all kinds of all of the different stories about him and his steak dinners and all of this other craziness, and not sneezing around him and all this. Like people in those positions of power have quirks and stuff like that. Like his quirks and stuff don't excuse the actions and everything that he did, as far as the advances that he made on people that they, I'm not gonna say did or didn't want, because like who knows as far as how many people were actually involved in this. We only know about the stuff that the Wall Street Journal has come out with, and the other story from the '80s or whatever with the referee, um, which like I said, I can't remember her name right now, but that's irrelevant. Um, my thing is, no one at any point wanted this to be the reason that he stepped down. It was all like, all right, listen, the performance from the job is not sufficient. So I would have liked for him to step down, make that graceful exit, as this to say, like, all right, I'm done. I can't do the job anymore. I'm going to pass it off to a younger generation that's more in tune with what fans nowadays want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if they can keep the the entertainment vision, to which it doesn't just become what the spot fest that the old timers are afraid that wrestling has become nowadays. If that's how he put it, then I would have been like, okay, that's perfectly fine. But like I said, this isn't what I wanted. But at very the very least, like, this is what was needed, if in fact all of these stories and everything are true, because you cannot have somebody in this position and have all of these allegations and everything be fact, rather than just you know not necessarily hearsay, but you can't call an allegation truth until the truth is actually revealed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it would
So
be hard to it because the women signed NDAs.
right.
Yeah. And here's the other one that I don't know if people are talking about it or not, but how long does Kevin Dunn have before he
Oh, I
leaves?
think he's gone.
Gone.
I think he's gone. From
And
what I
Mike,
understand, right now, creative at the moment is being run by Pritchard and Kevin Dunn, but Kevin Dunn's savior was Vince McMahon.
hmm,
His safety blanket is gone. He has no safety blanket, he has no safety net, nothing. He is walking on thin ice with no type of protection whatsoever.
and Trips and Stephanie are back.
Right.
And
They're back and they're both in power.
that power struggle is going to get real now.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out that Tony Khan and Stephanie are co-CEOs. They're both running the company apparently now.
Nick Khan.
Nick Khan,
Let's not give anybody a heart attack.
sorry, Nick Khan and Stephanie are co-CEOs right now.
Although shout out to Tony Khan for being that petty to actually come out and make the statement that he did afterwards, talking about being the longest tenured CEO in wrestling now.
Bro,
I'm like, you little petty bitch. I respect it though.
oh man, he took a playbook out of Eric's.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is quite the news, and there's a lot that else is going to happen. I'm trying to figure out is what else is going to pop out, because that's the only thing we can think of. Something's going to probably either, like I said earlier, something either is going to come out as another bombshell, or they were like, hey, if you don't step down and retire, we're going to release this bombshell. And it probably would have been one that him and the WWE could not like get away from. It will like leave a black eye on there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was kind of like they were like told like, hey, step away. You know, because like I said, the timetable was funny. How Trips was literally back in his role, and then hours later, he's gone. Vince McMahon retires.
Well, somebody brought something up, and there was a fan, so I don't know whose name is behind this or whatever, but somebody was questioning, like, with the timing of everything, do you think there's any type of heat or any beef between Triple H and Vince, being that Vince is retiring the very day that Triple H is being put back into his position? I'm not absolutely sure that you can actually go there just because of the fact that, like I said, from everything that I've heard, the decision for Vince to actually retire was made about a week ago, or
Mhm.
at least internally.
Um,
So I don't know if you can actually go. Maybe there is, but at the same
I don't.
time, like,
I don't
but
think beef. I just think that they were worried for Trips' like health. I'm like, the man literally like had like a cardiac arrest. Like he was literally dead.
mhm,
You know, like it was like you have to be stress free for this amount of time
mhm.
until you're okay to go back to work. Like they were even saying they were telling the wrestlers you can talk to him, but these are non-conversations with them. Like they were getting a list of what not to talk to him. So it literally became like, hey, how are you? How you been? Okay, bye. That was it. Nothing to do
Mhm.
with wrestling, nothing to do with nothing. So I don't think there's an issue between them. I think they're fine. I just think I think Vince was trying to like get his people back into power. I guess he realized like I'd rather have Steph and Trips run the company than Nick Khan and somebody else. And I don't think he trusts Kevin Dunn if he's not in charge. Like Vince is in charge. Vince is like Kevin.
Well,
Fine, I don't
one of the
care.
other things, from what I gather, from what I was hearing back in the day, when Shane was real big in the company and everything like that, it was the two factions that were forming under Vince McMahon, where you had the Stephanie and the Triple H faction that they were trying to put all of their people in power,
Mhm.
and Kevin Dunn was trying to align himself with Shane so that he could stay on. But as we all saw, Shane McMahon, he kind of sort of,
Did his own
not
thing.
hell, not even kind of sort of, he basically, cost himself his job and his position by trying to make everything about him
Yeah.
rather than be about, the people that are out there performing all of the time. So,
Mhm. Well, I remember.
with Vince gone and then with Shane gone and his backing and everything like that, like, you got the idea that this guy has, uh, basically he hitched himself to the wrong horse.
Yeah, and I
So,
remember that story. But I remember what I read and heard was that the power struggle was real, but the problem
mhm,
was that Kevin Dunn was like, "Oh shit, I'm losing," and he called Shane back, like what you said. But he called him back in. Shane came back because of Kevin Dunn,
mhm,
and because he needed somebody on his side. He needed a McMahon. The only man he could get was Shane.
mhm,
He wasn't gonna get Vince, so he got Shane to get on his side. But of course, like we saw, Shane wanted to do what Shane wanted to do,
mhm.
and then they were like, "Yeah, no, you're out. You're gone. Go back to your businesses. We don't need you
I
here."
still don't understand how he thought that he was going to go out there and steal the entire show in the Royal Rumble. I don't understand. And I love the way Randy Orton actually basically put him in his place and was just like, well, your music is playing. I'm not coming out to it. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, we might have to go live again with whatever news breaks again after this because I have a feeling this is not done. There's more, and it's probably going to be more about Vince and these allegations. And I wonder who else is going to be implicated on this one because right now it's just Johnny Ace with Vince.
mhm.
But
Oh,
yeah, they said that. I was it last week's SmackDown? I think it was last week's SmackDown. Kevin Dunn and Mr. Man weren't there, and they thought it was because they went to John Cena's wedding in Vancouver, but they couldn't confirm it. But they were both gone from SmackDown, which is odd because usually it's one or the other that's there. But to see them both gone at the same time is not common. So that's another thing to look at and wonder why were they gone both at the same time.
I don't know. My apologies for like my just being completely distracted. I flipped over to SmackDown, and the first thing I see on my TV is Kayla Braxton and Liv Morgan together. So I'm just flustered right now.
Uh,
Also, Ronda Rousey is way shorter than I thought she was.
how tall is she?
I don't know, but Liv Morgan is taller than her.
No way.
Yeah, this is what I'm looking at. She's got like maybe like an inch or two on her.
Ronda's 5'7", apparently.
Jesus.
How old is Liv Morgan? 5'3".
Get the fuck out of here. This has to be framing then. Because like I said, I'm literally looking at this right now. This is wild.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this last minute, like, breaking news for Heel Heat. Sorry Jay couldn't be here. He's on the road somewhere traveling. I don't know what he's doing. That man's on the road all the time.
Yep.
Trying to pull him in whenever he can. I feel like a damn like rodeo cowboy. Like, get over here. Man. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Until next time, we SummerSlam preview unless something else breaks out. Have a good night, everybody.
Y'all be good.